That scream tore through the elegant brunch at Azure Bay Country Club. A Bellini glass shattered on the white tablecloth. Peach champagne spilled like blood. In a room of 260 silent guests, Grayson Hale, CEO of a renowned healthcare empire, raised his hand and struck Noelle, his 7-month pregnant wife. The video went viral in minutes, but no one knew that. Hours earlier, his mother, Eleanor Hale, had quietly altered her will. A slap wasn't just rage. It was the opening move in a long orchestrated game where power, money, and loyalty all came with a price. And as the child in Noelle's womb kicked, she knew today wasn't just Mother's Day. It was the day an empire began to crack. Would she stay silent or burn the truth to the ground? Sunlight flooded through the floor-to-ceiling glass walls of Azure Bay, casting silver streaks across white tablecloths and the pearl necklaces of women who tilted their chins at just the right angle. The clink of forks on fine porcelain rang like tiny bells. The scent of orange and champagne mingled with peonies, a fragrance hired to evoke filial piety, but instead made the scene feel more like a stage than a family meal. Noelle moved slowly. Her 7-month belly strained the navy dress's curve, her hand gripping chair backs for balance. In that first moment, all she wanted was a glass of cold water. The Bellini glass broke first. The dry crack split the room in two. Peach liquor bled across the cloth like a thin stain of blood. Forks froze mid-air, suspended like birds startled by a gunshot. At the head of the table, Grayson in a gray suit and calculated sky-blue tie dropped his PR smile and swung. The slap landed sharp on Noelle's left cheek, precise as a cost-cutting order. No one blinked. No one stood. Faces froze, mirrored in the glass walls as silent copies of the same cowardice. Noelle didn't raise a hand to her face. She clutched her belly, her palm pressed against the small mound, stirring within a reflex deeper than any etiquette lesson. Her ears rang, her pulse shifted tempo. She counted in her head. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in, breathe out, the rhythm her prenatal coach taught first-time mothers. A rhythm no one expected she'd use to survive a room full of witnesses. In her peripheral vision, a teenager by the window lifted a phone. The frame trembled, then steadied. Eleanor sat opposite, spine straight, cream tweed jacket hugging her shoulders, pearls circling her neck. She lifted her mimosa, sipped delicately. No wince, no shock. Just a blink, like checking off a task. Sunlight hit her steel-gray eyes, making them glint cold, like a freshly sharpened blade. 260 people. Not a chair scraped the floor. Not a napkin left the table's edge. At the room's far end, the jazz band slid from a standard into silence. The saxophonist set his instrument down, staring at his hands as if they'd betrayed him. Noelle heard another glass fall, not on the table, but in her chest, a small, persistent sound, shattering trust. Her cheek burned, then cooled fast, like the sea changing color after a cloud. Peach and metal mixed on her tongue. The baby kicked, strong and rhythmic, like knocking from within. "Are you there? Are you there?" Grayson inhaled longer than usual. He tucked his chin, adjusted his cufflinks as if half his brain were still in a board meeting. His collar brushed his clean jawline, a tiny motion Noelle once found endearing. She tried to fix her napkin, chasing an old reflex. Shrink, soothe, stitch the scene shut. But her hand shook. The linen felt heavy as lead. Through the glass, the ocean reflected the sky, flat and indifferent. Inside, whispers buzzed like trapped bees. A silver-haired man by the window tilted toward his wife. Words caught in his throat, then broke. An art gallery owner pressed a small ringed hand to her chest. Certain this must be a civilized misunderstanding. A body language accident, explainable by fatigue and hormones, the stories the elite loved telling each other. Noelle glanced at the bar's clock. 11:16. At 9:12 that morning, Eleanor had sat in a walnut-paneled office on Harbor Street, before a painting of the bay. A secretary poured black coffee, set a Mont Blanc pen aside, and reviewed the amended will. Someone called the time, someone signed, someone photographed the final page. No one in this room knew those details. But Noelle would. Soon. And knowing would reshape everything she called family. The silence broke slowly, not with courage but with curiosity. Phones peeked above table edges like dolphins breaching for air. The room heated with data. A thin breeze slipped through the hall. not strong enough to push back the now cloying peonies. The club manager took 2 steps toward the hale table, then stopped, his eyes seeking Eleanor's like a bellhop consulting a concierge. She gave no command. She only set her glass down, twisting its base a tiny gesture, like signing approval. Tessa appeared like a slash of light. Red dress, hair neatly pinned, eyes dark with the sheen of someone used to scanning courtrooms. She placed a small, steady hand on Noelle's elbow, not rushing, not propping her up, just enough for muscles to remember they could stand tall. Noelle rose. Her chair scraped the floor, a single, defiant sound against the chorus of silence. A few heads turned away, as if looking at violence would stain them like smoke. They walked down the aisle. Each step drove a nail into the wooden floor. Noelle counted. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in, out. At the family table, Grayson didn't touch her again. He stood still, his negotiator's face like someone who'd dropped a glass in a gallery. Only Eleanor watched, her lips curving a fraction, unmeasurable. That smile wasn't joy, wasn't cruelty. It was the cold satisfaction of someone who'd cracked the safe's code. Outside the glass, the lawn caught the wind. Green, perfect as a screensaver. The sea air pricked Noelle's face, cooling the burn on her skin. She smelled salt and distant ships. Tessa opened the car door, her hand on its roof, a thin canopy. No words, just a friend's signal that she wasn't alone. In that moment, Noelle knew it wasn't the Bellini that broke this afternoon. It was the mask, his, hers, her own. The car door shut, sealing them from prying eyes. The windshield mirrored slow clouds, a different kind of time, unbound by clocks. Noelle touched her belly. The baby answered with a small kick, less frantic, like testing the waters. She named that rhythm silently, a Morse code from someone voiceless. Go, go, go. As the car pulled away, Noelle glanced back through the rearview mirror. Through the gleaming glass, the brunch resumed like a film directed to never break continuity. Waiters swapped linens. The band found its rhythm. New guests raised toasts to the lobster season. At the corner table, Eleanor sat erect, angled to catch the light on her earrings, her face poised for any camera's stray sweep. Her fingers brushed her pearls. 1, 2, 3 beads rolled under her thumb. A gesture of feigned calm, but also a clock. Counting down. In the sedan's cool air conditioning, Noelle closed her eyes. She saw the notary's office she'd never entered. Wood, coffee, expensive ink, the scent of fresh-cut paper. She saw Eleanor's signature, thin as a scratch on glass, and a morality clause tucked under someone's hand. These images came like borrowed memories, hooking into everything she'd just endured, connecting like nerves finding each other. For the first time since the slap, she breathed deeply without counting. On her phone's corner, a notification glowed. A text from Thomas Bradford, a name from family dinners, a man who spoke like he read charters. I need to meet you now. 9:12. This morning she did. What you think. Not an apology, not advice. Just a key. Slipped through the crack of a door. Noelle opened her eyes. The bay road stretched like a ribbon of blue ink. On the horizon, 2 white sails, small as dust specks, moved soundlessly. Tessa kept her eyes forward, hands steady on the wheel, her sun-darkened knuckles those of someone who'd climbed too many courthouse steps. No one spoke. No one needed to. In that silence, a decision surfaced like a fish. Not, stay or leave. The slap had answered that. The decision was how to leave, quietly, or with fire. Noelle placed her steady hand on her knee. It felt solid, like a door finding its latch. The car veered from the coastal road, swallowing sunlight into glass buildings. A fire truck's siren wailed somewhere long, high, then low. Noelle thought, every system has a warning before it burns. Families, too. She'd heard the beeps for months, calling them polite names. Today, the final alarm had rung. At the hill's base, a sign read, Martinez and Nguyen, attorneys on the 14th floor, black glass reflecting the sky. Noelle leaned her forehead against the cool window, hearing her child's heartbeat slow in her mind. She opened her eyes as her reflection merged with Tessa's 2 silhouettes, one line in the elevator's glass. The doors closed, shutting out the sea, carrying them upward. Steam clouded the mirror, fracturing Noelle's image into 100 shards. She wiped a streak with her palm, revealing half her swollen face, dark circles, and a thin line of dried blood like a crystal glass's crack. Tessa's office bathroom was small but cold. Fluorescent light bounced off tiles, carving her body's edges, exposing faint purple maps blooming on her skin. Noelle didn't cry. Tears had dried in the car. Only short, rough breaths remained, tasting of metal and fermenting truth. Tessa entered, holding a Leica camera. She didn't ask if Noelle was okay, just said softly, "We need to document everything properly. If the bruises fade, they'll say you imagined it." The words fell on cold tiles, bouncing like stones. Noelle nodded. Each click echoed in the silence. The flash reflected off the mirror, each burst a slice of memory. The slaps echo, Eleanor's gaze, his hand. Tessa took more angles, then opened her bag, pulling out a laptop. She opened a banking app, entered a password, and slid it toward Noelle. "Look at this." The screen lit up with uneven numbers. Noelle's account, $0. "No way." Noelle's voice was hoarse. I double-checked. For 3 years, every paycheck, bonus, and dividend went straight to a Carter Family Fund account. The second signatory is Grayson. Tessa scrolled, revealing transfers to Hale Holdings Subtrust #4, an account Noelle had never heard of. "This is financial control. They cut you out of the system using your own signature. The prenup from 2021, remember it?" Noelle gripped the chair's armrest. He said it was just paperwork, that his mother wanted it to protect company assets. Tessa gave a dry laugh. "Protect, sure, but not you." The desk phone rang 3 times, then stopped. A new email appeared on the screen from Thomas Bradford's law office. Subject: Meeting requested. Estate amendment. 9:12 a.m. Tessa glanced at Noelle. "She really signed the new will this morning. I bet the clause involves you." Noelle said nothing. She only heard the wall clock's steady tick, like a misplaced heartbeat. Another notification flashed. Lieutenant Marisol Vega, Tessa's old friend, now police chief, calling. Tessa put it on speaker. "Listen fast." Vega's voice was low, firm. "I interviewed 14 witnesses at the club. No one's filing officially, but there's a camera. Problem is, the club manager says Eleanor called this morning, offering to buy all the footage. She wants it erased." Tessa leaned forward, her eyes sharp as knives in the light. "This isn't just family drama anymore. It's organized abuse cover-up." Vega continued. "I'll try to secure a backup, but you need to move fast. When the Hales operate, things vanish in hours." The call ended, leaving a flat hum. In that space, Noelle heard water dripping steadily, an invisible clock. She thought of Eleanor, her fingers tapping her pearls, and the cold in her palm when the Bellini fell. Everything aligned, logical and cruel. Tessa closed the laptop, her voice soft, as if speaking to a shock patient. "You have to decide. Either sign a public response, admit temporary stress, save their reputation, get some assets back, or sue. And if you sue, we need evidence before they erase it." Noelle looked up. "What about the baby? That's their weakness and your weapon. We'll protect both." The office door opened softly. A man stepped in. Thomas Bradford, gray suit, tight tie, eyes tired but cold. He didn't shake hands, just sat, placing a briefcase on the table. "Mrs. Hale wants to meet you, Noelle. But first, I must inform you. The new will took effect this morning. All family shares go to Grayson, provided his marriage remains approved. If you divorce or separate households, voting rights revert to Mrs. Hale's trust. In short, if you leave, they keep everything." Noelle felt the floor slide beneath her. "And if I stay? You're permitted to maintain a stable marriage image, with a living allowance, like an employee." Tessa bit back anger, her voice sharp. "So, a hostage with a paycheck." Bradford didn't react. "I'm just the messenger, but she told me to tell you privately. Everything's arranged. Stay silent, and no one suffers further." Noelle stared at him. In the light, his eyes reflected like mirrors, emotionless, showing only her distorted, small, but standing. "I understand," she said slowly. "She's planned for my reaction too." Bradford shrugged, stood. "You're smart, but smarts don't save you from her system. Trust me." He gathered his briefcase, leaving behind the scent of fresh ink and cold metal. The door closed. Tessa turned. You have another path. Julian Hale, Grayson's brother. He left the company, runs a non-profit now. Word is, he has internal documents that could bring Eleanor down. Noelle closed her eyes, recalling Julian's look at a dinner open, regretful. Can he help? If he's got any justice left in him. Outside, rain began, pattering the glass like tapping fingers. Each drop carried a new rhythm to her life. Short, urgent, no retreat. Noelle stood, looked in the mirror one last time. A face no longer afraid, only resolute, if faintly so. She whispered, "All right, call Julian." Tessa scrolled her contacts, but before she dialed, Noelle's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, Eleanor Hale. A single line, "Don't let pride cost you everything. Remember, the will is the knife, but I hold the handle." Noelle inhaled deeply. In the rain's sound, the words rang like metal on stone. She turned to Tessa, voice calm. "Let's see who bleeds first." The rain stopped by morning, but Azure Bay's sky hung heavy, like a glass lid over the water. In Tessa Nguyen's small meeting room, burnt coffee mixed with damp paper. Noelle sat before a walnut table, clutching a warm cup she didn't drink. Her eyes stared into the void, where memories, faith, and old limits of safety dissolved like mist. On the table was the new will, sent overnight by Thomas Bradford, with a notary's seal. Tessa laid it out, pages marked with yellow post-its. The ink smelled fresh, the text cold. The Hale Family Trust Amendment, the 12th of May 2025. Read Clause 17, Tessa said, her voice hard, like reading an indictment. Noelle leaned in. The words hit like a verdict. In the event that the current CEO of Hale Holdings, Grayson Hale, or his spouse engages in any conduct breaching moral standards, harming the corporation's reputation, or affecting the Hale family image, all voting rights and shares owned by Grayson Hale shall be temporarily transferred to a trust managed by Eleanor Hale, until the matter is resolved per internal agreement. Noelle read it thrice. Each word felt carved with a blade, breaching moral standards. She whispered, "Moral standards, meaning me." Tessa nodded, unflinching. "If you leave, they'll call it marital betrayal, family reputation damage. This clause ensures Grayson loses control, but it doesn't go to you, it goes to Eleanor. She built the perfect trap, force her son to keep his wife, force the wife to stay, and she holds all the keys." Noelle's throat tightened. The wooden walls seemed to close in. "And me?" Her voice was a thread. "You're not named in the will. Not a single line." A long pause. Tessa exhaled, pulling out another file. "But there's another name, Lena Rhodes. Know her?" Noelle shook her head. The name stirred a soft creak, like an old door opening. Tessa flipped pages, placing a black and white photo on the table. A young woman, brown hair tied low, eyes tired but clear. She worked at Hale Holdings, Eleanor's assistant 10 years ago, then vanished. Internal records show Lena was named in the old will for a small share, but in 2015, her name was struck out. Right after, she sued Grayson for harassment and abuse of power, then withdrew the suit in a week. No one's seen her since. Noelle stared at the photo. Her chest tightened, as if squeezed. "She was pregnant," Tessa started. "How do you know?" "That look," Noelle said softly. "It's the same one I saw in the mirror yesterday." Outside, a distant ship's horn echoed, long and cold. Tessa touched her shoulder lightly. "Noelle, this isn't just a marriage. It's a cycle of abuse and Eleanor's the one running it. This will isn't just about assets. It's a control mechanism." Noelle gave a cracked smile. "A prison made of ink and signatures." In that moment, the door swung open. A man stepped in, rain-soaked, brown coat, thick briefcase in hand. Julian Hale. Less polished than his press photos, more weary, but his eyes held an unguarded light. Remorse. "You shouldn't be here," Noelle said, voice hoarse. "I know, but if I don't speak, it'll keep happening." Julian set his briefcase down, pulling out a small USB and photocopied papers. "This is internal audio. Eleanor planned everything last month, including the Mother's Day meeting. She knew Grayson was losing control. She wanted it to happen, to trigger Clause 17, Tessa froze. She wanted her son to hit his wife? Julian nodded, voice low. Not just that. She sent anonymous tips to financial bloggers, prepping a PR campaign to protect corporate honor. That slap was the opening act. Noelle leaned back. Everything in her collapsed, then reformed a new shape of truth. Why are you helping me, Julian? Because my mother did this to someone else before, and I stayed silent too long. He pushed the USB toward Tessa. Emails, recordings, bank schedules. You can prove the will was illegally amended, as Grayson was on prescribed meds, mentally unstable. The room's air thickened. Tessa looked up. If we release this, we're facing the Hale's entire legal machine. You sure? Noelle eyed the USB, a tiny metal piece that could tilt a skyscraper. No, she said, but I'm sure I can't stay silent anymore. Julian gave a faint smile, his first that day, but his eyes were wet. Eleanor will hit back fast. She has people more loyal than government soldiers. Be careful. And one more thing. He pulled another paper. This is Grayson's pre-drafted resignation, unsigned. If he signs, CEO rights go to Eleanor temporarily. But if he's charged with assault, she can still act as his legal proxy. It's a two-layer chess game. No one spoke. Outside, light cut through fogged glass, splitting the room bright and dark, like the thin line between justice and power. Tessa closed the file, voice firm as a gavel. I'll handle the recordings. But Noelle, from now on, protect yourself. She won't just use the law. Noelle nodded. To Julian. You said you'd change the game. I believe you. But changing isn't enough. I want to flip the board. Julian looked at her, long and slow. Then find Beth Walsh. Eleanor's executive assistant for years, backed up everything, even what she thought was erased. But Noelle, if you go for Beth, there's no turning back. Noelle smiled faintly, her first since the slap. Good. I'm done with going back. Morning wind swept the old south side of Azure Bay, where red brick buildings crowded narrow alleys. The Mariner's Brew sign hung crooked, coffee roast blending with sea salt. This was Tessa's chosen spot, a small cafe where no one would recognize them, a place for those hiding from the glossy world. Noelle entered, her long coat hiding her rounded belly. In the corner, Julian sat, back to the door, a wool cap pulled low over a face once on finance magazine covers. He looked up as she approached, eyes tired but steady. Chose this dive to dodge paparazzi? Noelle asked, voice dry. Julian's smile was faint, joyless. No, to dodge my mother. He slid a thick brown envelope toward her, handwritten on it. Beth Walsh. Confidential recordings. Beth was Eleanor's assistant for 8 years. Mother thought she was loyal enough to entrust everything. But Beth's loyalty, it's always been to herself. Noelle opened the envelope, printed emails, meeting schedules, a small USB. These are her backups, money flow emails, fake charity fund lists, and Grayson's business trips that were actually… Julian paused. Disguised affairs. Tessa finished, stepping up behind. She said a latte before Noelle. Saturday. I read the copy. It's worse they use those trips to launder lobbying money in healthcare. A whole network. Noelle stared at the USB. Small as a seed, it could grow a forest of fire. Beth has the originals? Julian nodded. In her black box, an encrypted drive kept in her old Piermont apartment. If anyone threatens her, she'll leak everything. Mother knows but can't touch her, so she's waiting to buy her silence. And you? Noelle asked. I can't go public. If Mother finds out I'm helping, she'll strip my inheritance or worse, frame me as complicit. Outside, rain pattered again, tapping the old tin roof like a countdown. Noelle gripped the USB, her hand trembling slightly. She held evidence that could topple a dynasty but could bury her if it reached the wrong hands. Tessa plugged in the USB, scanned quickly. Dozens of folders appeared, named by month and year. Audio files, photos, accounting sheets. One file stood out. The visit, the 12th of May, 2025. MP3. She clicked. Eleanor's voice filled the air, clear and icy. If Grayson loses control, we use it. A mother sometimes cuts off the rot to save the body. The company is the body. I'm the heart. That daughter-in-law, she's just a fingernail. No one spoke. Only the drip of coffee through a filter, steady, cruel. Julian clenched his fists, eyes red. She always thought she was the savior. but all she saves is her rusted throne. Tessa scrolled to a financial sheet. Here, Hale Health Relief Foundation. A charity taking money from Big Pharma, funneling it to high-cost insurance contracts. When exposed, they write it off, covered by shareholder funds. A full audit could collapse Hale Holdings. Noelle leaned back, heart racing. And I'm the link that brings it down. You're the witness, Tessa corrected, and the survivor. How? Outside, thunder rolled. Julian checked his watch. I have to go. She might already know about the USB. He stood, pulled on his coat, then paused. If you meet Beth, don't threaten her. She only trusts those who offer something in return. Noelle asked. Like what? Like a chance to escape Eleanor before she's swallowed. He left. Light from the door hit Noelle's face. In her eyes, a small flame flickered, not hatred, but realization. Everyone around Eleanor was just trying to survive. Tessa closed the laptop, looked at her friend. Your slap video hit 2.4 million views in 24 hours. Eleanor just issued a press release, claiming her daughter-in-law is struggling with mental health. It's Darvo. Deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. They deny, attack, then flip the victim role. Noelle's lip curled. She wants me quiet while she rewrites the story. And if you react wrong, they'll say you're unhinged, just what they want. The cafe's air thickened. Wind whistled through the door, scattering old newspapers on a corner table. One fell to the floor. Noelle picked it up, yesterday's paper. Bold headline. Hale Holdings. Empire shaken by family scandal? Below, a photo of Eleanor and Grayson exiting a car, hand in hand, faces calm under flashing lights. Noelle stared at the image, then said, soft as breath, No, I won't let them write the sequel. I will. She stood. We need to find Beth Walsh. Tessa hesitated. You sure? She holds all the cards. Noelle turned, voice sharp as a blade through fog. No, she only thinks she does. Because the last card is me. The rain stopped. Thin light fell on the wet alley. Tessa watched her friend step out, her shadow stretching across the bricks, blending into the glow of the old sign. A fragile, fierce moment, a woman stepping free of safety's cage. The heavy metal door clanged shut behind Noelle, a sound like a line drawn between two worlds, one where the powerful controlled the story, and one where the rest fought to tell it to survive. The Azure Bay police station's interrogation room was cold, white light glaring on a flawless steel table. No two-way mirror, just a blinking red recorder and Lieutenant Marisol Vega's voice, husky, warm, weary. Recording starts at 9:07 a.m. Statement by Noelle Carter Hale. Noelle sat straight, hands on her lap, a bruise on her neck hidden by a thin scarf. She heard the click of a button, the scratch of a pen, then Vega. Start from the beginning before the club incident. No drama, no music, just truth bare and clear as the overhead fluorescence. Noelle spoke. Each detail was a stone in a mosaic. Controlled credit cards, midnight demand texts, Grayson's tracking app on her phone for safety. Vega didn't interrupt, only nodded occasionally, like counting beats in an ocean of facts. When Noelle mentioned the will, Vega set her pen down. Do you have a copy? I do, Noelle said. And Eleanor's recording. Vega raised a brow but showed no surprise. We'll verify its authenticity. But Noelle, you know this? You're going up against a family with banks, hospitals, and judges in their pocket. I know, Noelle said. But I also know something else. Silence only lets them continue. Behind the glass, Tessa stood, arms crossed, eyes hard but worried. She knew each word Noelle spoke was a small bomb in the case file, one that could save her or shatter her. The interview lasted 2 hours. When Vega switched off the recorder, the room stayed quiet. An officer brought in a thick file. Vega signed it. Voice firm. Official complaint filed. Will issue an emergency restraining order against Grayson Hale. For the next 48 hours, he can't approach you, your home, or contact you electronically. Noelle nodded. She didn't feel safe, but for the first time, she felt a barrier, however thin. By noon, news spread like sparks in dry grass. Hale Holdings CEO accused of assaulting pregnant wife. Old paparazzi shots resurfaced. Grayson's smile, hand on Noelle's belly, framed by the coast, now ironic proof of a model marriage. At Hale Holdings' 40th floor office, Grayson sat motionless before a TV. His face was cold, but his hand gripped a glass until it cracked. Behind him, Eleanor entered, silent. "How long will you let this circus go on?" she asked, voice light as ash. "I'll handle it." "No, you'll stay quiet. I have a plan." She placed a paper before him, a joint statement. "We say it was a misunderstanding. Noelle's under pregnancy stress. Overreacted. You apologize publicly, then appear together at the fundraiser. Image restored. Stocks stable. Done." Grayson stared at the paper, eyes caged. "And if I don't? Then you're no longer CEO." He laughed, a sharp, hollow sound, like metal on glass. "You care about the company more than your own blood." Eleanor smiled, adjusting her pearls. "Blood's the easiest asset to replace, Grayson. The company is forever." At the same time, in Martinez and Nguyen's office, Noelle and Tessa prepared a media file in case things went wrong. Tessa opened a window, letting light fall on her friend's face. "Ready?" she asked. Noelle looked at the file. Complaint, recordings, bruise photos. "You can't be ready for war. You just accept it." Tessa's phone buzzed. Vega. "Grayson was arrested 10 minutes ago. Soft arrest, voluntary surrender. He's got a lawyer." "Did he say anything?" "One line. I'm the victim of a family conspiracy." Noelle closed her eyes. Those words weren't new, exactly what Eleanor wanted him to say. 3 hours later, a live broadcast aired from the police station. Grayson emerged, suit pristine, CEO smile intact. To a reporter's, "Did you hit your wife?" He replied, "No. I love her. She's going through a tough time. I just want to protect our family." The words flooded social media. Comments split, critics versus defenders. Eleanor stood off camera, watching her son follow the script. But before she could savor it, her phone buzzed, a text from an unsaved number. "Police have a copy of the Hale office camera, 12th floor meeting room, 10:03 a.m., May 12. Eleanor's face paled. That was the day she amended the will. In a small Bayside apartment, Noelle watched the broadcast on an old TV. Grayson's half-smile chilled her, but she didn't turn it off. Beside her, Tessa typed, sending an email with an attachment, "Hale office camera copy to the SEC." Noelle whispered, "If we do this, they'll know we have an inside source." "Right," Tessa said, "but if we don't, they'll keep erasing." The window was open, wind lifting a paper on the table, a draft joint statement from Hale's lawyer, urging, "Sign by 5 p.m. to ensure safety for you and your child." Noelle stared, a faint smile forming. Safety means silence. She took a pen, but instead of signing, wrote at the top, "No." Tessa glanced, nodded. "Good. I'm sending the camera file now." That night, Azure Bay Police received a 20-minute video from a Hale Holdings 12th floor camera. In it, Eleanor stood before a notary, saying coldly, "Ensure Clause 17 is ironclad to retain voting rights in any scenario, even if Noelle leaves." The video ended with her signing. When Vega watched it, she exhaled, muttering, "Enough for a financial search warrant, but not enough to arrest her. We need an insider." Beth Walsh. Piermont's parking garage sank in salty fog that evening. Old sodium lights buzzed, casting sickly yellow across oil-stained concrete. Noelle parked on the third basement level, heart pounding with the hum of an old AC unit overhead. She'd disabled her phone's GPS, left her wallet at home, carrying only the USB tucked in her coat. No one knew she was here except Beth Walsh. A black sedan pulled up a few spaces away. Beth stepped out, slim, blonde hair tied low, heels clicking coldly on cement. Her beige trench coat held a laptop bag. Light caught her thin glasses, masking her eyes but not her wary edge, honed in gray zones. "No one with you?" Beth asked, voice low but sharp. "No," Noelle said. "No one to bring." They stood 3 meters apart. The only sounds were distant rain and a car climbing the ramp. Beth lit a cigarette, green smoke curling around her gaunt face. "You know what she's doing, Noelle. Eleanor's buying everyone's silence, cops, bloggers, lawyers. She'd burn the company to keep her honor." "Honor?" Noelle smirked. "She doesn't have that." Beth laughed, a cracked sound in the smoke. "I thought so too. until I realized her honor isn't morality, it's control, and you're taking that away. She opened her bag, placing a black hard drive on the car's hood. This is the black box. All the recordings, accounting files, money laundering transfers, and Eleanor's emails with the board. This could blow Hale Holdings apart. Noelle eyed the drive, voice soft. What do you want for it? Beth paused, light carving her cheek like a blade. Protection. A place in the whistleblower deal. I don't trust Julian, Tessa, or anyone. But I trust you because you've got nothing left to lose. Nothing left to lose, Noelle echoed, voice bitter. That used to be me, now it's just my child. Beth bowed her head, crushed her cigarette. Then make sure your kid grows up in a world where women like us don't have to bow. She pushed the drive toward Noelle, but then sharp, steady footsteps echoed. Both turned. Grayson emerged from the shadows, flanked by 2 bodyguards. Noelle, he smirked. You're clever, even teaming up with Mother's traitor. Beth stepped back, face paling. He shouldn't be here. Shut up, Beth, Grayson snapped. Mother was right. You're only loyal to the highest bidder. He approached Noelle. In the dim light, his face was paper pale, exhaustion etched around his eyes. I didn't want this, but you're forcing me. Noelle stood still, voice calmer than she expected. What'll you do? Hit me again? This time with 2 witnesses instead of 200. Grayson's jaw tightened. He signaled. The guards moved for the drive. Beth clutched her bag, eyes darting for an exit. Don't, Noelle said fast. If you give it to them, they'll kill you. Grayson chuckled, not denying it. No one has to die. Sign the joint statement, and you and the baby are safe. Noelle looked at him, a stranger now. Safe means locked in your mother's golden cage. I've lived that enough. The garage's air grew dense. Grayson stepped closer, hand outstretched like calming a child. Noelle, don't make this hard. Mother just wants to protect the family's honor. If you give that drive to the police, she'll destroy herself. Noelle cut in. And you're more afraid of that than losing me. So, her voice was sharp, firm. In that moment, Grayson saw. The woman before him wasn't the Noelle he'd controlled. Her gaze was direct, unflinching, and in its calm, he saw himself naked, weak, a puppet with cut strings. Beth seized the chance, backing toward her car, pulling a small remote from her pocket. I have an online backup, she said, voice shaking. If I don't cancel it in 10 minutes, everything goes to the SEC and 3 major papers. Grayson's face drained. You're bluffing. Try me. The air snapped like a bowstring. A guard lunged. Noelle acted on instinct. She shoved the drive back to Beth, shouting, Run! Shouts and footsteps echoed through the garage. Beth sprinted for the exit. Grayson grabbed Noelle's wrist. She yanked free, fabric tearing. Exhaust, sweat, and fear mingled. Then police sirens wailed long, piercing, cutting the rain. Vega, red and blue lights swept the basement, pinning Grayson. He released Noelle. In the chaos, Beth vanished into the dark, taking the black box. Vega and 2 officers stormed in, shouting, Police! Nobody move! Grayson raised his hands, forcing calm. This is a misunderstanding. I was just... Cuff him, Vega said coldly. He's violating the restraining order. The cuffs clicked, crisp and final. Soft cuffs, Vega added, so we don't bruise the CEO's wrists. Don't worry, the press will love that detail. Noelle stood still. As Grayson was led away, his eyes flicked to her not with hate or love, just emptiness, like a man who'd seen his life was a string of wrong digits. Vega approached. You okay? No, Noelle said honestly, but I'm alive. Where's Beth? She ran. With the evidence. Vega nodded. Good. She'll reach out. People like Beth don't hide, they just raise their price. 3 hours later, Noelle sat in a temporary interrogation room, a cold tea before her. Vega entered, placing her phone on the table. An email from an anonymous address. Noelle, I kept my word. She'll fall, but only if you go public. Meet me tomorrow. Pier 9, alone. B. Noelle stared at the text, then looked up. Outside, the sky blurred gray. She knew the game wasn't over. Each time she thought she'd escaped, a new layer opened, and in it, a face with pearls, smiling. Morning fog cloaked Azure Bay like a veil. hiding the waking city's cautious pulse. Pier 9 was empty, save for seagulls and distant sails. Noelle stood alone, gray coat fluttering, hand on her belly where her child rested quiet, as if sensing the stakes. She arrived 10 minutes early. No one knew she was here except Beth Walsh, and maybe Eleanor Hale. Heels clicked from the pier's end. Beth appeared, small, hair disheveled, beige coat damp with fog. Gone was last night's cool. Now she was anxious, tinged with fear. "You alone?" Noelle nodded. "As you asked." Beth returned a faint nod, eyes scanning. "No Vega? No Tessa?" "No. Now tell me, what game are you pulling me into?" Beth opened her bag, pulling a sealed envelope. "I sent the black box copies to 3 places. A journalist, a federal prosecutor, and..." She paused. "An old friend Eleanor betrayed." Noelle said slowly, "What do you want me to do?" "Go public. If you do, I survive. If you stay quiet, she hunts us both." A camera clicked faintly in the distance. An SUV stopped at the pier's entrance. Eleanor Hale stepped out, white overcoat, leather gloves, silver hair tied neatly. She needed no disguise, she came to be seen. Beth stepped back, voice trembling. "I didn't call her, I swear." Eleanor approached, heels steady, rhythmic. "Such a pity, Beth. You were a fine assistant. But you should know, pawns only move when the board isn't flipped." She turned to Noelle, her smile thin as a cut. "And you think you can beat me with recordings? With tears?" Noelle didn't answer. She met Eleanor's eyes, eyes that had made others bow, now reflecting only void. "No, I don't plan to beat you. I plan to expose you." From her coat, Noelle pulled her phone, opened a live stream. "Thousands are watching now. Say hello to Eleanor Hale, model Mother Hale Holdings chairwoman, who orchestrated her son slapping his wife before hundreds to protect her fortune." Eleanor froze, her smile faint. "You have no proof." "Yes, I do," Noelle said. "And so does Beth." Beth hesitated, then opened the envelope. Inside was a copy of the new will and an unreleased recording. Eleanor's voice played, low and sharp. "If my son must be a devil to keep this empire, I'll teach him to smile while he kills." The sound echoed in the open air, carried by wind but caught by the internet. Comments flooded the phone's screen. "My God, unbelievable. Is the Hale CEO really his mother's puppet?" Eleanor lunged, snatching the phone. But Beth yanked her back, shouting, "Don't touch her again, Eleanor. The game's over." In the struggle, the phone hit the ground, still recording. Wind whipped Eleanor's white coat, exposing her gleaming pearl necklace. One bead broke free, rolling across the wood, splashing into the water. Plop, a small sound. But to Noelle, the fall of a dynasty. Eleanor sank to her knees. No one helped. Beth stepped back, panting, eyes mixing fear and release. Noelle looked at the woman who'd been her nightmare, now disheveled, lips trembling, words failing. "You don't understand. I only wanted to protect this family." "No," Noelle said softly. "You only wanted to protect your power." Police sirens sounded. Vega had watched the live stream. Beth tossed the envelope to the ground. "I did my part. You two handle the rest." She turned, her small figure fading into the fog. Noelle picked up the phone, its screen blazing. 3.2 million watching live. She took a deep breath, speaking to the lens. "No one should stay silent when they're hurt. I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor." 3 hours later, a national breaking news alert. Eleanor Hale, Hale Holdings chairwoman, arrested on charges of financial manipulation, abuse, cover-up, and will forgery. Reporters swarmed the Hale mansion as police led her out, wrists in soft cuffs, her face not broken but stone cold. When a reporter shouted, "Do you regret it?" she replied, "I only regret teaching my daughter-in-law too well." The news spread. Hale Holdings stock plummeted 38%. Partners cut ties. But amid the chaos, Noelle stayed silent in her seaside apartment, hand on her belly, eyes on the horizon where the sky slowly cleared. Tessa burst in, laptop in hand. "Your video hit 50 million views. The nation's talking about you." Noelle didn't look from the sea. "They're not talking about me, Tessa. They're talking about silence and how it breaks." Tessa sat beside her. Police found Beth at the state border. She turned over the entire drive. "No one can hide anything now." Noelle nodded faintly. She did the right thing. Maybe. But they say she got a payout from a secret fund under Julian Hale's name. Noelle turned, surprised. Julian? He's gone. Some say he drained his joint account with Eleanor. He might have leaked the video before you. A quiet pause. Then Noelle smiled, not bitter, not regretful. Then he's the one who really saved this family. She touched her belly, whispering, "Don't be afraid, little one. We've weathered the storm." That evening, Vega stopped by with a thin file. The court approved witness protection. "Your husband Grayson is awaiting trial for complicity. Want to attend?" Noelle shook her head. "No, I've seen enough. Now I just want to rewrite my life." Vega gave a small smile. "You know." Noelle few dare flip the board when cornered. "But you did." The door closed. The room sank into red wine dusk. Outside, waves rolled, reflecting a pale purple sky. Noelle breathed deeply, feeling her baby's small, fierce kick enough to change everything. The night was calm, as if no storm had ever raged. Azure Bay resumed its rhythm, glass towers aglow, news cycles shifting from the Hale scandal to fresher tales. But on Harborview Hotel's 32nd floor, one room stayed lit, warm light seeping through half-drawn curtains. Julian Hale sat alone, before an unopened whiskey bottle and a thick file. On his laptop, Eleanor's arrest video looped, her lips tight, eyes locked on the camera, eerily composed. Julian paused it at her stare, a chill ran through him. Not fear, but realization. She didn't think she'd lost. He shut the laptop, flicked on a desk lamp. Beside it, a new passport, a plane ticket out of state, and an envelope with a bank card all in Lena Rhodes's name. The last Hale secret. Julian poured a whiskey, sipped. The smoky burn hit his throat, sharp and heavy. He remembered the day Lena vanished from their lives, the only woman who defied Eleanor. And his old love. 10 years ago, he was a dreamer, believing he could leave the Hale empire and build his own. Lena, Eleanor's assistant, was sharp, bold, reckless. They loved in secret, a bond Eleanor called filthy. When Lena got pregnant, Eleanor handed her a one-way ticket, saying, "That child isn't a Hale. Leave, or I'll make it disappear." Julian stayed silent, thinking it protected Lena. A week later, she was gone, leaving only an ultrasound photo. Now, in the envelope, was a birth certificate, Lena Rhodes Hale, born 2015, his daughter. Julian gripped the glass. He didn't know how Beth got it, only that as Eleanor was arrested, an anonymous email reached him. "If you have any conscience, protect the child your mother tried to erase." No signature, just coordinates: Portland, Maine. He opened the window. Night wind carried sea salt. Below, the city glowed, loud and alien. He'd spent his life running from the Hale name, but blood pulled him back. Now, maybe, it was time to atone. Morning came. Noelle woke to sunlight through her window. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "I need to see you. It's about Lena Rhodes erased by Eleanor. I'm in Maine." "Jay." Tessa read it, frowning. "You sure you should go? Could be a trap." "Julian's not like them," Noelle said. "He helped us. And if someone else was destroyed by Eleanor, I want to know." 3 hours later, she was at the airport. Vega objected but didn't stop her. "If anything happens, call me," Vega said. "Don't play hero." Maine's afternoon was gray and cold. Pine forests stretched, and a small wooden cabin emerged from the fog by a lake. Julian stood on the porch, tall in a dark sweater. As Noelle approached, he said softly, "Thanks for coming." Inside, a fire crackled. On the table, an old photo. Eleanor, Julian, Lena, at a 2014 charity meeting. No one knew Lena was pregnant then. "Where's the baby?" Noelle asked. Julian opened a drawer, pulled out another photo, a 9-year-old girl, brown hair, his blue eyes. "She lives with a foster family in Vermont. Lena died in a 2016 house fire ruled an accident, but Beth's report shows industrial gasoline traces." Noelle gripped the chair. "Eleanor?" Julian nodded, eyes sunken. "She hired cleaners. You know, when someone threatens her reputation, they vanish." Silence blanketed the room, broken only by the fire. Noelle finally said, "So what now?" "Get her out of their shadow. And go public. Not just what you've done, but what Mother hid for 10 years. He slid another USB to her. This has the 2015 shareholder meeting audio. She used the Hale Health Fund to launder money through medical organizations and government contracts. That's the root of her power, not Grayson, not me. The money. Noel looked at him. You know going public means you lose everything? Julian's smile was sad. What I lost wasn't assets. It was me. Night fell. They sat by the fire. Noel whispered, Do you think your mother regrets anything? Julian shook his head. Eleanor doesn't know regret, only victory. But this time, she won't choose who tells the story. Outside, a truck rumbled. Julian stepped onto the porch. Two strangers appeared up the road, moving slowly, watching. He turned, voice tight. We need to leave. Now. Noel glimpsed a logo on the truck. Hale Legal Division. Eleanor's old law firm. They scrambled, Julian tucking the USB into his coat. As the truck's engine grew louder, he pulled Noel through the back door, into the forest. Cold wind stung, breath turning to vapor. Far off, headlights swept trees, flashing briefly, then gone. They ran until they hit a small road to the highway. Julian stopped, panting, turning to Noel. She never understood. Real power isn't what you hold, it's what you let go. His words were swallowed by distant sirens, Vega and the police. 2 hours later, in a police car, Vega asked, The USB? Julian handed it over. The final evidence. Use it to bury Eleanor Hale for good. Vega nodded. And you? Where to? Julian looked out at the faint dawn. I have someone to meet. Weeks later, Vermont. A small elementary school. Children spilled out at dismissal, laughter ringing in the Sunday. Julian stood by a wooden fence, watching a brown-haired girl holding her foster mother's hand. He didn't approach, just smiled. Noel stood behind, touching his shoulder. Sometimes, surviving is the best justice. Julian nodded. And silence can be a way to love. 17 days after Eleanor's detention, Azure Bay's sky felt different, as if sunlight hesitated before her name. Papers claimed she'd fallen, but Hale Holdings insiders knew. Eleanor never fell. She hid. That morning, Tessa entered Noel's office, face heavy, dropping an envelope on the table. Sent from a Geneva bank. No sender, just an electronic signature. E.H. Noel opened it. Inside, a silver USB and a note. If you think you've won, look closely at what I've left behind. E. Her heart raced. Tessa hid her worry. We shouldn't plug it in. Could be a trap. But Noel did. The laptop lit up with an icon. The Lazarus Fund. Activation protocol. Below, a scrolling line. Biometric verification required. Eleanor Hale. They exchanged looks. Biometric? Tessa frowned. If she's in custody, how could she activate it? Before they could discuss, a new email hit Tessa's inbox. Subject. Don't stop. I'm still here. Attached was a jail camera video. Eleanor in a white prison jumpsuit, face unyielding, speaking calmly as if at a board meeting. The Lazarus Fund is Hale Holdings' seed planted before you were born. You think you can cut the root, but the roots run deeper. If Noel's watching, know this. No one's free while living in fear of power. The only way out is to become it. The video cut off. No further data. Tessa cursed softly. God. She turned a confession into a PR campaign. Noel stared at the screen, where the Lazarus Fund blinked. Lazarus means risen from the dead. She's warning us she'll live on, even buried. She clenched her fist. Not this time. 2 days later, Vega arrived with an Interpol file. She wasn't lying. A Lazarus Fund exists registered in Luxembourg. But here's the kicker. It's still receiving money from Hale Holdings' medical branches. Post-freeze. Someone's running it. Noel whispered. Julian. Vega's eyes sharpened. We think so too. He's gone, right? Tessa cut in. No way. Julian helped us. He's not like Eleanor. Vega placed a blurry airport security photo on the table. Julian in a dark coat, pulling a suitcase, holding a different passport. Below, a transfer record. $2.4 million from the Lazarus Fund to a new Panama company, Rhodes Biotech. The name froze. Noel. Rhodes. Lena's name. Right. Vega nodded. We suspect Julian set up the company to preserve Lena's legacy, but the funds come from Eleanor's shadow accounts. She may have left everything to him to reborn the empire under a new guise. Noelle went quiet. Wind scattered papers on the table. She recalled Julian's sad smile by the lake. His words, "Real power is letting go." She'd believed him. "So, he's continuing her work," Tessa said slowly, "or destroying it." Vega shrugged. "Unknown, but if the Lazarus Fund's active, money's flowing. And where there's money, there's power." That night, Noelle didn't sleep. She opened her laptop, diving into a dark web finance forum where hackers tracked dirty money. After hours, she found encrypted transactions named after birds. One stood out. Phoenix 9's symbol of rebirth. Decoded, it read, Phoenix 9 equals Rhodes Biotech. Julian Hale, Executive Director. Her heart tightened. She called Tessa, no answer. Vega voicemail. Finally, she sent an email. "If I don't contact you in 24 hours, check this address. I'm meeting Julian." The next afternoon, she reached a glass building in Portland, Rhodes Biotech gleaming under sunlight. The lobby was empty. A guard scanned her face and sent her to the 15th floor executive office. The door opened. Julian stood, back to her, light haloing his shoulders. "I knew you'd come," he said softly. Noelle stepped forward. "What's the Lazarus Fund, Julian?" He stayed silent, pouring 2 glasses of water. "You know my mother, always 2 steps ahead. When she sensed the investigation, she moved all funds to a shadow account. Gave it to me with one condition. Make it something good." "Good?" Noelle laughed coldly. "By laundering money under your old lover's name?" Julian looked up. "She killed Lena. I don't forgive her. But I also know, if we don't control that money, someone worse will. I want to turn Hale Holdings into a real medical relief fund, what she only pretended to do." "You're becoming Eleanor too," Noelle said. "Good intentions, same lies." He stepped closer, voice low. "There's no clean way to clean the dirty. You, of all people, know that." His words made her step back. "The difference is I don't want power. I want freedom." Julian sighed. "And freedom needs someone to pay." He opened a drawer, placed a file on the table. "I've signed to transfer the Lazarus Fund to the government. But I need you to testify it's not a laundering scheme, it's a community health fund. If you don't, it'll fall to worse hands than Eleanor's." Noelle searched his eyes for truth. Maybe he meant it, maybe not. But she'd learned, anyone claiming for the good hid a shadow. She pulled a pen from her bag, set it down. "You want my signature? Fine. But only if you go public that you're Julian Hale, Eleanor's son, sole heir to the empire." Julian froze. "If I do, the fund gets frozen. And if you don't, history repeats." They stared, long and heavy. Finally, Julian nodded, slow, burdened. "All right." A week later, national news broadcast. Julian Hale, son of Eleanor Hale, announces dissolution of the Lazarus Fund, transferring $1.2 billion to a domestic violence victims fund. The public calls it the true end of the Hale empire. Noelle watched from her seaside apartment. Her baby kicked, like an answer. She smiled. But as the channel changed, a ticker scrolled. Lazarus subaccount Caribbean branch still active. Legal representative. L.R. Hale. She stared at the initials. L.R. Hale. Lena Rhodes Hale. She whispered, "No way." Outside, the sea stirred. One dynasty ended or began again, under another name. Azure Bay's night sea was quieter than ever. In her small apartment, Noelle sat by the window, moonlight on her fearless face. Her baby stirred gently, as if reminding her all storms pass. She turned on the TV, Julian, announcing the Lazarus Fund's end, voice calm but eyes haunted. They called him the Hale Empire's final redeemer, but Noelle knew some darkness lingered. She smiled, whispering, "If they rise from power, I'll rise from truth." She took a pen, writing the first lines of her memoir. No empire falls in a day. It cracks from within, from those who stay silent. Outside, sea wind carried a distant sound, Eleanor's laugh, or waves of freedom. No one knew. Only that, when her child was born, the city would look again. What remains after power, love, or fear? And as the screen fades, the narrator softly asks, "If it were you, would you rise through power or through compassion?" Biển đêm Vin Azure lặng hơn bao giờ hết. Trong căn hộ nhỏ, Noel ngồi bên cửa sổ, ánh trăng rọi lên khuôn mặt đã không còn sợ hãi. Đứa bé trong bụng cựa nhẹ, như nhắc cô rằng mọi cơn bão đều sẽ qua. Cô mở TV, hình ảnh Julian xuất hiện, công bố giải thể Lazarus Fund, giọng điềm tĩnh nhưng mắt hoang hoài. Người ta gọi anh là kẻ chuộc lỗi cuối cùng của đế chế Hale. Nhưng Noel biết, một phần bóng tối vẫn chưa tan. Cô mỉm cười, nói khẽ. Nếu họ tái sinh từ quyền lực, thì mình sẽ tái sinh từ sự thật. Cô lấy bút, viết những dòng đầu tiên trong cuốn hồi ký. Không có đế chế nào sụp đổ trong một ngày. Nó nứt từ bên trong, từ những kẻ ai im lặng. Ngoài kia, gió biển mang theo âm thanh xa xăm tiếng cười của Eleanor, hay tiếng sóng vỗ của Tự Đô. Không ai biết, chỉ biết rằng, ngày đứa trẻ ra đời, cả thành phố sẽ phải nhìn lại. Điều gì thực sự còn lại sau quyền lực, tình yêu, hay sự sợ hãi? Và khi màn hình khép lại, người kể chuyện khẽ hỏi. Nếu là bạn, bạn sẽ chọn tái sinh bằng quyền lực hay bằng lòng nhân ái?